Ladies and gentlemen, we are floating in space. Welcome to Garage Geek. This is a special edition of Garage Geek celebrating Science Fiction Day. Now, when I woke up this morning, I had the classical music station on the radio, and they made the announcement, and I was like, wow. And so I looked it up, and it's January 2nd, because that is supposedly Isaac Asimov's birthday. So we are going to celebrate all things science fiction today. We're going to start off with, of course, books. But let's just get into the festivities with this cool V Funko Pop. Look at that. I was enamored with this show as a kid. So since we started off with Isaac Asimov, let's go ahead and do him first. So he is featured in this short story collection, The Time Traveler's Almanac. There he is, Isaac Asimov. He's also on the spine. There he is, Isaac Asimov. I haven't finished this yet. This is one of my favorite genres, and since it's short stories, I jump in and out of this. So I don't have everybody represented. I just grabbed some books that were around. So here we got the really famous Ray Bradbury with Fahrenheit 451. Here we have another short story collection, but this time they're all by Robert Silverberg, time and time again. And we just mentioned Ray Bradbury. And here we have the stories of Ray Bradbury. And I like to mention, I think I've mentioned it before. So this contains the really important story, The Days of Thunder or Delicate Sound of Thunder, something like that, where the term the butterfly effect comes from. Let's take a moment to look at some science fiction Funko Pops. Here we have the concept series of Funko Pops from Star Wars. Pretty awesome. I recently picked up not recently, this is a few years now, and I haven't read it yet. So when Cixin Liu's trilogy was out, which I absolutely loved, I forget what it's called. Oh, The Three Body Problem. So Chinese science fiction writers came into the spotlight, and I picked up this collection, and I have yet to read it, but I'm sure it's really good. Oh, his name's right there on the cover, Cixin Liu. So the point in all these books is I kind of wanted to show you different publishers that put out different kinds of books. Now, Penguin put out 5 or 6 books in this series, and I only have 2 of them, but I definitely want to make it a point this year to get all of them. So here we have Neuromancer by William Gibson. I'm actually not a fan of this book, but I understand why it's so important for cyberpunk. And then we have Left Hand of Darkness, and I am absolutely a fan of this book. In fact, I really need to reread it. So good and so important. And then we have Modern Library, who is published Le Guin, and this one is the Complete Orsinian. And of course, I need to read this one too. I need to read so many. Here's one I have read, Jeff Vandermeer's Annihilation Trilogy. I was goo-goo for this when it came out. I devoured these books. They just transport you. And the movie is actually really good as well. It goes places that the book doesn't, which I appreciate. But reading the book is quite an experience. I've mentioned before that this has a lot of the ideas of Roadside Picnic, but I think done so much better. So here we have a series of The Best American. There's a whole bunch of titles in this series, and here are 2 from The Best American Science Fiction put out annually. These things are always interesting. Even if you don't like every story, you can appreciate them. So I highly recommend you picking up one of these and giving it a try. Can't talk about sci-fi without Orson Scott Card. Now, I'm of 2 minds about him because of his political viewpoints, but wow, can he build a world, and his Ender and Bean world is so amazing. Science Fiction Masterworks has put out a series of books. I love these for the covers. The covers are just the right amount of cheese to keep me coming back. I mean, these covers are awesome. Like, they're not going to be the most stunning art. Like, you can see much better art on books like this, but the art is, like I said, just enough to make me want to collect everything in this series, because I'm just so compulsive that way. So we only have a few more books, so I want to talk about the paperback. Now, paperback science fiction books are always so much fun to collect, especially the older ones. I didn't grab any, but the older science fiction covers have such great and interesting art, sometimes super cheesy, but fun nonetheless. I wish I had double or triple my lifespan, because I would be collecting so many things. It's a shame. I only get to live to be 120. So you probably know the two major awards for science fiction are the Hugo and the Nebula. And so I believe each one of them put out showcases, and they dip into the winners. Now, what's interesting about these books is they will give excerpts from everything that won, or almost everything, because, you know, they also have video and movies and TV shows categories. But for example, they will usually, if they can, they will give an excerpt from the novel that won, etc. So these are good overviews for the award that year. A series that I've fallen in love with is the Expanse series. Now, I started reading these books before the TV show. This really does build a really, really interesting and detailed world, and the TV show did it justice. These are a great series of books. Now, here's the thing about sci-fi and fantasy, but sci-fi usually has multiple volumes to draw you in. I think that's really appealing to fans because it really does build worlds. And there are so many of these types of book series out there, and of course I'm not going to cover them all. So let's talk about movies. I pulled one on VHS, James Cameron's Abyss. Have one on DVD, Gort, Klaatu, Barada, Nikto. I have a Criterion Blu-ray. This is a wonderful animated movie. You really need to see it. I've got a Steelbook. This is probably one of my favorite science fiction movies, but I hate this Steelbook case. It's just awful. I need to update it with the newer one. I mean, look at that back art. That is awful. That's all they could do for the... Oh no. This is lazy, and I don't even know why I bought it. And then you have the combination box set with all the Alien movies. This thing is gorgeous. Let's take a look through it. Ooh, look at that. Look at that. I know you're all jealous out there. Yeah, right. Okay, we only have a couple things left to show, and those are comics and games. Let's start with the games. Those are easier. So here we have two games from PlayStation 4. This one is Outer Worlds. It's I guess they're called World. I forget what they're called, but it's where you get to just explore in different worlds in space. So that's pretty cool. I only started it. I need to go further into it. And then of course we have Destroy All Humans. This is so much fun, and I think the second one is out. I need to get it. So we're gonna finish today with one of my favorite genres, which is comics. Comics have really gone in the direction of sci-fi. So, for example, the mainstream comics, this is Batman. And then look at this, Earth 1. You see this all throughout the movies, the animated movies. So, in Spider-Man, they're going in all through alternate and parallel universes. So let's start with a classic Silver Surfer from the 60s, Jack Kirby. Riding through space on a surfboard. From the 80s, we also have George Perez doing Crisis on Infinite Earths, bringing multiple versions of superheroes together, which is still very popular now. And here we have an old DC comic, Strange Adventures. But we're going to go into a little bit of a sidestep, because there's a comic company that I didn't pay attention to when I was a kid, but I really like them now for the painted covers. So we're going to take a small trip into Gold Key. So here we have Solar Man of the Atom. Sorry if this is glary. Here's Magnus Robot Fighter. One of my favorite shows as a kid. Lost in Space. And even The Twilight Zone had many episodes dealing with science fiction realms. And there you have it, everybody. There is a trip into some sci-fi. Like I said, there's so many videos out right now that I actually wanted to take a step back and not put any videos out, just because I need to spend the time catching up on all the other videos that are out there. But when I heard that it was Science Fiction Day, I knew I needed to celebrate. So everyone out there, live long and prosper.